Alright guys, welcome back here to the San Bruno Premier Challenge, the first of two Premier Challenges today. We are currently in the top four, getting ready to get underway. Exciting matchup right now as four players remain. David S, we saw him before. Dark Assassin is currently playing off against David S, and right now for you we got gengarboi versus Falco. Of course, right now the two matchups are going to be NorCal versus SoCal in each. Kind of a rivalry we got going here. Sort of a SoCal invasion here in the Bay Area. As we go to team preview here in the top four, we have off-screen Falco with Amoonguss, Bisharp, Kangaskhan, Meowstic, Heat Rotom, and Salamence. On the screen, you can clearly see gengarboi with Charizard, Kangaskhan, Garchomp, Aegislash, Wash Rotom, and Hydreigon. Of course, no Intimidators on Gengarboi's side, so Bisharp not going to be able to benefit from that Define ability, but of course, going to be a great way to deal with that Aegislash of Gengarboi's. Aegislash, of course, one of the more popular Ghost-type Pokemon. Gonna see what exactly he can do here. We saw both these players earlier on. Gengarboi, I believe, was playing in the first round, and Falco played a couple rounds ago in the Swiss rounds. As we can see off Riley's side, the two possible Megas are going to be most likely Charizard or Kangaskhan. Probably going to see which one he brings here. Kangaskhan, of course, is a very popular Pokemon, and going to be interesting to see exactly what happens. Both players' teams are fairly standard. Meowstic was going to be able to provide so much support if it really needed to, as Salamence and Bisharp going to go out for Falco, and Charizard and Wash Rotom going to be coming out for Gengarboi's side. Charizard, of course, could either be X or Y Mega Evolution. Both of them are pretty strong. And Wash Rotom going to be able to probably support, maybe burn that Bisharp if it really needed to, and weaken its physical attack power. Of course, Charizard also threatens that Bisharp with powerful fire-type attacks, whether it is Y or X, but Gengarboi going to be content with just switching it out this turn. Going to switch straight into Garchomp, and that's going to be an interesting move, most likely baiting any rock-type attack that Salamence has into that Garchomp slot. As Bisharp going to protect itself this turn, does not want to take anything, as Salamence does fire off the Rock Slide onto the Garchomp and the Wash Rotom. Going to do negligible damage to both Pokemon, really. The critical hit on that Garchomp, and Rotom actually flinches and is unable to move, so unfortunate flinch right there. Really came down to what Gengarboi was planning to do with that Wash Rotom. Could have been a possible Will-O-Wisp into the Protect, so not really sure exactly how unfortunate that is for Riley's side. Salamence, of course, most likely Choice Scarfed. Going to be locked into that Rock Slide if it is Choice Scarf, so most likely going to have to switch unless it's going to be content on just firing off Rock Slides into Wash Rotom and that not very effective Garchomp. And Garchomp going to be content, Salamence going to be content with firing off Rock Slide. It's going to do a good amount of damage to that Rotom, bringing it down to about 60 to 70%. And Earthquake from Garchomp going to fire off and hit that Bisharp for a good amount of damage, but it actually survives. And Bisharp going to go for that Assurance, going to be able to do a good amount of damage to that Wash Rotom, and actually picks up the knockout. So good move right there for Alex's side to pick up the quick 4-3 lead. That Intimidate really paying dividends towards Alex's side, of course, making that Bisharp survive that Earthquake. As Aegislash now going to come in. Aegislash going to be interesting to see what it can do right now, possibly set up a substitute. Does not want to hit into that Sucker Punch, or Bisharp might just straight go into an Assurance. But of course that Garchomp's still out there, so going to be able to threaten that Bisharp. So tough decision right now for Alex's side. Both these Pokemon not really going to be too well against Riley's side, considering the fact that Riley's going to be able to outspeed and knock out that Bisharp if it really wanted to. Salamence, of course, locked into that Rock Slide right now. Of course, if Rock Slide happens, there's always a chance for a flinch, but Glow's going to send out something in replacing of Salamence. And Kangaskhan going to come in instead, as Bisharp going to protect itself this turn. What is gengarboi going to do with this turn? Garchomp going to fire off a Rock Slide, going to be able to pick up that knockout on Bisharp if he did not protect this turn. But smart move right there by Alex to protect it. And going to be able to set up a free substitute for that Aegislash. So good position right now for gengarboi, even though he is currently down 3-4. But Kangaskhan is still going to be able to do a good amount of damage to Garchomp. Not really going to be able to do too much to that Aegislash if it really wanted to, although that Sucker Punch might be able to break that sub and do a little bit of chip damage to it with that second hit from Parental Bond. So right now, both players trying to figure out what their best course of action is. And right now, I think that gengarboi has a lot more momentum and a lot more better field position with that Garchomp threatening that Bisharp to knock it out, and, you know, Kangaskhan not really being able to touch Aegislash that much. Most likely only going to be able to get off that second hit. Of course, Kangaskhan hasn't Mega Evolved yet, but here it is, the Mega Evolve, so it's going to lose its Scrappy ability, if it did have that Scrappy ability anyways. So the only move that Kangaskhan can use that will most likely be able to hit that Aegislash is going to be Sucker Punch. Garchomp going to protect itself this turn, does not want to take any damage at all. As Bisharp going to be content with firing off the Sucker Punch, going to hit into that Aegislash slot, going to break that substitute, and one of the things that's annoying about those Aegislash substitutes is that, you know, you had to break it, and Aegislash, when it's in shield form, is actually pretty bulky. Kangaskhan going to hit into that Protect, while Aegislash going to be content with firing off a Shadow Ball onto that Bisharp and knocking it out. So, equalizing it at 3-3. Aegislash right now in Blade form, healing a bit of its health with leftovers again, so that Aegislash definitely has some staying power out on the field right now. So Gloza needs to figure out what his best course of action is, who the best Pokemon to send in is. And kind of a struggle right now. We've seen the Salamence, of course, coming in, firing off his Intimidate onto that Garchomp. It's going to be very, very good and weaken Garchomp even more. Bringing it down to -2. And we haven't seen Alex's 4th Pokemon yet, so that might actually be a key Pokemon in this matchup, as Salamence does decide to come in. We've seen the Choice Scarf so far. Riley, not sure if he wants to stay in and face off against the Salamence. And, I mean, Salamence clearly will outspeed that Garchomp and knock it out, so that Salamence sending in, putting a lot of pressure on Riley right now. Aegislash, of course, it's in Blade form. It's very vulnerable in Blade form, so might want to try to see if it can either King Shield this turn, but of course, you know, Alex might be able to read that obvious King's Shield coming his way and somehow have his Kangaskhan set up. That is a possibility. Kangaskhan could just Power Up Punch his own Salamence to power up his Kangaskhan. That'd be interesting. Risky if that Aegislash does not decide to King Shield this turn. So tough decisions right now for both players, as Riley going to withdraw Aegislash, going to go straight back into Charizard, and I don't really know how I feel that switch. Kangaskhan, of course, is still going to be able to do a good amount of damage to that Charizard anyways next turn. So that Draco Meteor going to come off and fire off onto the Garchomp and going to pick up the knockout easily. So let's see what Kangaskhan does decide to do this turn. Looks like he might be Power Punching his own Salamence, and he actually does Power Punch his own Salamence. So getting a +2 off his Salamence, that is impressive, gutsy play from Alex's side to Power Punch his own Salamence and set up easily against that Charizard and that Aegislash. Now this +2 Kangaskhan going to be able to do a good amount of damage to that Aegislash. One of the things about Sucker Punch against Aegislash is that the Sucker Punch, if it lands into the King's Shield, will not lower Kangaskhan's special or Kangaskhan's attack stat. That's an interesting thing. Going to be able to do a good amount of damage through that substitute. You know, first hit will break the substitute, and the next hit will still do a good amount of damage. So Gonna have to be careful how he plays this. Probably wants to save his Salamence right now at -2, wants to reset its special attack stat and possibly lock itself into a better option. Charizard still hasn't revealed his Mega yet. Could be X, could be Y. Looking at Riley's team, you really can't tell. Usually that Charizard Y, is paired with a Pokemon that can abuse it, such as Venusaur, with that Chlorophyll ability. So still kind of ambiguous as to what this Charizard could be. I mean, both Charizards are very strong in their own respect. As Alex does decide to switch out, going to switch into that Heat Rotom. So showing off right now that he does have the pieces to win this battle if he really needs to. As Charizard going to Mega Evolve, going to reveal Charizard Y. Going to bring out the Sunlight. Going to be able to do a good amount of damage with Fire-type attacks onto that Kangaskhan. It comes down to who's going to outspeed, as Kangaskhan's going to be able to fire off the return. At +2, that's going to be a pretty easy knockout, as Charizard actually does get knocked out. And right now it is going to be Aegislash versus Heat Rotom, Kangaskhan, and Salamence still in the back for Agloza. As Flash Cannon going to come out from Aegislash. Going to hit that Kangaskhan, going to do a good amount of damage, but not be able to pick up the knockout. So right now, Alex is in a commanding lead over Riley. And, Riley really barely a chance to win this game. And there it is, the forfeit from Riley, as Agloza steps it up and takes this, or advances through the series, taking the 1-0 lead in the series. So both players right now are going to go back to the drawing board in team preview. The big play right there was probably the Kangaskhan power punching his own Salamence. Risky play in case that Aegislash did decide to stay in, but it was a pretty obvious slot for doing that because Aegislash locked into blade form, going to take a lot of damage from that. So smart move right there by Agloza, and we can see why. He's the national champion. So back to team preview right now. Charizard, Kangaskhan, Garchomp, Aegislash, Wash Rotom, and Hydreigon for Riley. And on Alex's side, you got Amoonguss, Bisharp, Kangaskhan, Meowstic, Rotom, and Salamence. Didn't really think that Bisharp would really come in handy, but it clearly did. That Rock Slide Assurance combo did so much work out. Removing that Wash Rotom was a pretty good thing to do because that Wash Rotom could easily Will-O-Wisp that Kangaskhan or that Bisharp to weaken their attacking power. Not exactly sure if Riley's going to continue to bring Charizard Y. Kangaskhan, in my opinion, is probably the better one to face off against Kangaskhan. Unless Riley can somehow get that Charizard in and fire off an Overheat onto that Kangaskhan before that Kangaskhan can get a +2 boost. So both players right now getting underway. Getting ready to face off here. Alex up 1-0. And Riley currently down 0-1 in this best-of-3 series here in the top 4 of the San Bruno Premier Challenge. The first of 2 Premier Challenges. So Riley going to lead off with Wash Rotom and Kangaskhan, making that adjustment, sending that Kangaskhan instead of that Charizard as Meowstic and Salamence come in. Unfortunate that Riley chose to send in that Kangaskhan there because Salamence firing off that Intimidate onto that Kangaskhan. Meowstic, very strong support move pool. Can fire off Swaggers. We've seen earlier that the Meowstic has Safeguard, so it can easily Safeguard and Swaggers to just quickly pick up some fast sweeps. And Thunder Wave, going to be able to be really good support to help Alex's side really just sweep the field after getting some Swagger boost on his side. So Aegislash going to come in right now for the Kangaskhan, going to reset its stats. And, firing off the Thunder Waves immediately onto that Aegislash. Aegislash not really minding that speed drop at all. But it is not going to enjoy that chance of possibly not moving, as Salamence going to fire off a Rock Slide. And there it is, Riley showing off the Thunder Wave on the Wash Rotom. Wash Rotom, really well known for carrying Hydro Pump, an electric type attack, and Protect, and either Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp. A lot of people choose to use Will-O-Wisp, but Thunder Wave also has its own utility too. I mean, right now that Choice Scarf Salamence has essentially been severely weakened because now it's going to be slower than most of the field, and that item that it's carrying is just going to hinder it even more by locking it into a move that it might not enjoy using. Meowstic going to go for the Safeguard right now. Unfortunately that he did not get that up the previous turn, as Washroom going to fire off the Thunderbolt. Going to do a good amount of damage to that. Salamence almost bringing it down to the L, as Salamence is going to be fully paralyzed, and Aegislash going to be fully paralyzed too, as it does decide to switch into attack form. So right now, a little bit of luck going both ways, and going to be interested to see exactly what happens now. Salamence and Meowstic versus Aegislash and Wash Rotom. Meowstic, a very great support Pokemon. We see that it's definitely paying off for Agloza. As Salamence right now going to decide to switch out, not going to want to lock itself into Rock Slide anymore. As Meowstic going to be content to fire off another Swagger onto the Aegislash. Going to play the dice rolling game right now, as Aegislash needs to be able to pass the Confusion check and the Paralysis check after getting attack boost. As Rotom going to fire off Thunderbolt onto the Kangaskhan and bring it down almost to 50%. As Aegislash going to fire off Shadow Ball, going to be super effective against that Meowstic, going to do a good amount of damage, actually pick up the knockout. And Riley going to go up 4-3 in this game, as Agloza quickly decides to send in his Heat Rotom. Interesting choice with that Wash Rotom out. Wash Rotom going to be able to threaten that Heat Rotom, but that Kangaskhan at the same time is going to be able to possibly pick up the knockout on that Wash Rotom if it really chose to. And Riley going to withdraw the Aegislash, doesn't want to stay in there. Smart choice, doesn't want to face off against the Confusion check and the Paralysis check. Garchomp going to come in, possibly take overheat from that Heat Rotom, as Mega Kangaskhan going to make an appearance and most likely fire off a return onto that Wash Rotom slot. Is it going to be enough? Wash Rotom actually decides to protect this turn. Smart move from Riley right there. I don't mind that move at all, as the Will-O-Wisp does come on to the Garchomp. Smart read right there from Agloza, but the Lumberry from Riley going to prevent it from being burned this turn. So good read right there. Agloza, kind of reading that Aegislash will either King's Shield or possibly switch. Wanted to get off that Will-O-Wisp onto that slot, whether it switched or King's Shield, that Will-O-Wisp would go through. So important information right now for Agloza for the next game, if it does go down to game 3, that Garchomp has a Lumberry. So not going to try to waste a turn to burn it, only for it to heal with that Lumberry. So right now it all comes down to whether or not this Kangaskhan return going to be able to do enough damage to the Wash Rotom to pick up the knockout, unless Agloza decides to do some switching here to kind of shuffle around the board position. Kangaskhan right now weakened from that Thunderbolt earlier in the game. Not sure if the Dragon Claw is going to be able to do enough damage, but of course, who needs a Dragon Claw? We can easily Rock Slide. Going to do a good amount of damage to that Heat Rotom, bringing it all the way down to 50%. And Kangaskhan does flinch. That's probably what Riley was rooting for, as the Hydro Pump from Wash Rotom misses the Heat Rotom, and Heat Rotom fires off the Will-O-Wisp onto the Garchomp and burns it, as Heat Rotom with the leftover is going to heal back. And unfortunate miss right there for Riley, as that Heat Rotom gets to burn that Garchomp, going to severely weaken it. And right now we know that the next turn, the Rock Slide is not going to be able to do enough damage to that Heat Rotom. Right now, Heat Rotom going to protect itself this turn, doesn't want to take any damage. Rock Slide from Garchomp going to come out and going to do a good amount of damage. Kangaskhan going to fire off the return, gets to finally fire off the return onto the Wash Rotom, and actually, with that Citrus Berry, going to not be able to pick up the knockout at all. And Rotom all the way down into the red, barely hanging on thanks to that Citrus Berry. And the Hydro Pump going to land into the Heat Rotom's Protect. So Agloza right now trying to claw his way back. And the safeguard actually ends. So right now, that Wash Rotom is going to be able to get knocked out this turn. And don't know exactly what this Heat Roam is going to do this turn. Will-O-Wisp, Protect, Overheat, Thunderbolt. So, going to be interesting to see what happens here. Kangaskhan showing Protect, not a really common move on Kangaskhan. Earlier in the metagame, Kangaskhan not really known to carry Protect, but now, there are different variants of Kangaskhan. Rock Slide going to come out, going to be doing a good amount of damage to that Heat Rotom, and the Hydro Pump going to come out onto the Heat Rotom as well. Going to pick up that knockout as well on that Heat Rotom. So now it's going to be Salamence. It is going to be Salamence and Kangaskhan versus Wash Rotom, Garchomp, Aegislash and back. That has already been paralyzed, and Kangaskhan as well in back that he had out in the first turn. So 4-on-2 right now. Alex trying to seal the deal here. Paralyzed Salamence, not really going to be able to do much with that Garchomp out on the field. Does fire off the Intimidate onto that Garchomp. Going to be able to weaken its attack even more. The unfortunate thing right now is that Kangaskhan in the back, it's still at full health and still able to Mega Evolve and support it with Fake Out, support Riley's team with Fake Out. So Garchomp going to fire off the Rock Slide, going to do a negligible damage to Salamence, as Salamence does decide to fire off the Draco Meteor onto the Garchomp, and that is going to bring it down to 3 on. It's going to be 3-on-2 right now. So it is going to be 3-on-2, Salamence and Kangaskhan versus Wash Rotom, and Riley going to send in the Aegislash, going to keep that Kangaskhan for that late game sweep. And Kangaskhan going to go for the Sucker Punch onto the Salamence, and that is pretty much Alex Agloza forfeiting this game. Not much information left to reveal, and the game is pretty much over as the Thunderbolt from Riley going to fire off onto that Kangaskhan, and Aegislash going to seal the deal. So good adjustments right there from Riley. Going to be able to pick up the knockouts and advance to 1-1 against the national champion Alex Agloza. So it is coming down to Game 3 here at the top 4 of the San Bruno Premier Challenge, the first of 2 Premier Challenges. So going into Game 3, Alex now needs to make that adjustment. I didn't really like him bringing Meowstic in the Game 2. That safeguard would have been nice if it prevented that Salamence from getting paralyzed from that Wash Rotom. But one of Riley's tricks up his sleeve is that Thunder Wave Rotom Wash, which has been revealed. So Alex is going to definitely be a bit more careful about what he's going to do with that Rotom out. Does not want to be slowed down. The point of Alex's team is pretty much be faster than the other team and knock out as much as possible. As fast as possible, really. I mean, you got Kangaskhan, you got Salamence, you got Bisharp, you have Heat Rotom with Meowstic and Amoonguss supporting. So, good adjustments right there from Riley. First turn, he could have faced off Kangaskhan's, but decided not to. Decided to switch out instead and preserve that Kangaskhan for late game if he really needed it, and continue to play around it to try to get into position for him to easily pick up the knockouts. That Thunder Wave on that Salamence definitely helped a lot, so wouldn't be surprised to see if he tries it again here. Back to team preview right now, of course, Alex off-screen with Amoonguss, Bisharp, Kangaskhan, Meowstic, Heat Rotom, and Salamence. Riley on top, on the screen, as you can see right now, Charizard, Kangaskhan, Garchomp, Aegislash, Wash Rotom, and Hydreigon. Of course, we see exactly how great that Thunder Wave paid off, slowing down that Salamence and still having it, carrying that Choice Scarf, pretty much a useless item at that point, just going to hinder him, lock him into using one move. And with the different types on Riley's team, that one move choice is going to be very important. Being locked in the Rock Slide, which is very good against Charizard, very good against Rotom, not very good against things like Garchomp or Aegislash. Locking himself into a fire move, going to be great against Aegislash, but not very good against, Hydreigon, Garchomp, Wash Rotom, or Charizard. So that Salamence with that Choice Scarf, definitely needs room to move and make move selections, and once it's slower than the other Pokemon, it coming in safely is a lot harder. So we're definitely going to have to try to see Alex be more protective of getting his Pokemon paralyzed, maybe see some safeguards, maybe see Amoonguss come in and fire off some Rage Powers, as Amoonguss does make its appearance against with Salamence, going up against Aegislash and Kangaskhan. Right now, Amoonguss, Alex is probably looking at these leads right now and cheering, because with Aegislash and Kangaskhan out, Salamence has free reign to do whatever it wants. Can Rage Powder, can fire off Spores if it really want to. Aegislash, a very popular target of Spore. King's Shield does not block Spore, but at the same time, it comes down to a speed war to see which Pokemon is faster. Is Aegislash going to be able to set up that substitute, or is Amoonguss going to be able to outspeed and set up that Spore? So right now, Aegislash comes down to whether or not Aegislash can outspeed it, and what Salamence actually decides to do. Salamence against Kangaskhan. Salamence will not be able to knock out that Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan, of course, with that Fake Out support, might be able to prevent Amoonguss from firing off a Spore if it really needed to. But, Kangaskhan might be punished by that. Amoonguss is a very bulky Pokemon, usually carries Rocky Helmet if it really wants to provide a very good support role, as Amoonguss is going to protect itself this turn, not wanting to take any damage, as Salamence fires off an Earthquake. Interesting moveset from Alex's Salamence. Earthquake, not exactly the most popular move, as Kangaskhan going to fire off the return, going to go straight into that Salamence, even though it's intimidated, still going to do a good amount of damage, bringing it all the way down to about 40%, 30% really, as Aegislash going to go into Blade form. Firing off the Shadow Ball, double targeting, going to double target that Salamence and pick up the easy knockout. So off the bat, Riley coming down with a 4-3 advantage. Alex getting outplayed that turn completely. Losing a Pokemon, not doing too much damage to Riley at all. Kangaskhan now going to come in. Going to be a Kangaskhan versus Kangaskhan mirror. Of course, Amoonguss right now can, kind of play more towards its support role. Can easily Rage Powder or Spore. Not afraid of any Fake Out this turn. But it all comes down to what this Kangaskhan does and whether or not it's a speed tie, which Kangaskhan is going to be able to move first. Aegislash right now locked into Blade form, might want to try to get out of Blade form, switch, or King's Shield. But the problem with him King's Shielding is that he'll open up himself to be Spored this turn. If Alex reads it right, it's kind of a tough situation right now for Riley. Leaving Aegislash on Blade form is really always threatening. Setting up substitute, it all comes down to whether or not that Aegislash is faster than that Amoonguss, which kind of comes down to a speed war that people do to train or breed their Pokemon specifically. Amoonguss, though, not going to Spore this turn, going to be content with firing off Rage Powder. Aegislash is going to stay in Blade form this turn, not going to use that King Shield, as the return coming out, going to do a good amount of damage to that Amoonguss, bringing it down to 50%. And Kangaskhan going for the power-up punch, going to smack that Kangaskhan for a good amount of damage. Critical hit on the first hit, and is that even going to be enough to pick up the knockout on the second hit? No, barely hanging on, as Aegislash now going to move and fire off a Flash Cannon onto the Amoonguss. And doesn't pick up the knockout. Special defense drop does happen, though. Going to be a not too critical special defense drop. I mean, Amoonguss is already all the way down in the red. Amoonguss does heal a little bit of HP back after that, so Amoonguss already in the red. Agloza gonna most likely rely on simply this Kangaskhan from boosting itself up and finishing up the job. Riley revealing his own Protect Kangaskhan, most likely not carrying Fake Out. Unfortunate information to pick up now in the Game 3. as Amoonga's going to fire off a Rage Powder. Kangaskhan going to return into the Kangaskhan Protect as Riley going to be able to set up that free substitute. So now Aegislash hiding behind a substitute, that's really good for Riley's position on the board. Kangaskhan almost knocked out right now. Of course, you know, even if you're down 2-4, anything can still happen. This is the game of Pokemon that we play. And Kangaskhan at about a sliver of health left, you know, however much damage it actually... I don't even know if Kangaskhan can fire off much. Kangaskhan from a Glow's side can easily just sucker punch it to knock it out as well this turn. So it all really comes down to what Alex has in back and what Riley has in back as well, as Amoonga's going to fire off a Rage Powder. And Kangaskhan going to go for the sucker punch. Going to target down that Kangaskhan, pick up the knockout. You know, no point in just waiting and seeing what happens. You know, just knock out that Kangaskhan, knock out the opponent's Mega, and take what you can, as the Flash Cannon from Aegislash is going to come out and hit the Amoongus and knock it out. And right now it is 2-3. Aegislash hiding behind a substitute here in the San Bruno Premier Challenge Top 4 with Alex Agloza versus Riley F. Garchomp going to come in on Riley's side. And Heat Rotom going to come out for Agloza. So Agloza does have the piece that can easily knock out that Aegislash, but, you know, that Garchomp going to threaten as well. So Garchomp and Aegislash, you know, Garchomp can fire off Rock Slides, hit that Heat Rotom very hard. Agloza needs to figure out a way to break that substitute and knock out that Aegislash. Kangaskhan and Garchomp going to protect this turn, content with doing that as well. Not wanting to take any damage from each other. Rotom going to fire Thunderbolt onto the Aegislash, going to break that substitute most likely, as it's still in Blade form. And yeah, there's the break of the substitute, and Flash Cannon into the Kangaskhan's Protect. So right now, Heat Rotom and Kangaskhan in a bit better position as that substitute's been faded. Kangaskhan, of course, currently at +2, going to be able to do a massive amount of damage to either Pokemon decides to target down. Aegislash, going to see what Aegislash decides to do here. Garchomp firing off that Rock Slide, going to do a good amount of damage to that Heat Rotom and that Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan going to be able to fire off that return. Going to go into the Garchomp. That is going to be a knockout, one-hit knockout. Rough skin damage. Going to do a little bit of damage back to that Kangaskhan. Really lucky that Agloza was able to knock it out in one turn, as the overheat from Heat Rotom going to hit into that Aegislash and knock it out. So now Riley has one more Pokemon in back, and it's going to be interesting to see what it is to face off against a +2 Kangaskhan and a -2 Heat Rotom. So what does Riley have in back? Wash Rotom is going to be sent out. Unfortunately, Wash Rotom against a +2 Kangaskhan does not look too good for Riley, as Kangaskhan does fire off the return. Is this going to be enough to knock it out? Firing it off and picks up the knockout in one hit. So Alex Agloza, your national champion, advances to the finals here at the San Bruno Premier Challenge after knocking out Gengarboi. Both players played very well, and you know, Agloza did his job. He set up really easily, got that +2 Kangaskhan. So getting a +2 Kangaskhan is always very important for Agloza's strategy. You know, that's exactly what he does. We are going to take a quick break right now, as we are going to get set up for the finals here at the 2015 season San Bruno Premier Challenge, the first here in the Bay Area.